Hello, my name is Kimberly Rodriguez, and this is my case analysis of the missing Booster Club funds for EDL 854 Educational Finance. A brief summary of the case. There was a basketball game held at George Washington Middle School, and at the end of the evening, when Mr. Stevens, the principal, was reviewing the funds, he noticed that there was a note that had been written by Miss Bowman, one of the parent volunteers, stating that she had to discard 10 torn tickets. Even though the ticket proceeds balanced with the number of tickets sold minus those 10 reported tickets, the total didn't reflect the amount that should have included those 10 tickets. Additionally, Mr. Stevens had a conversation with another parent, Mr. Dumas, about him paying with a $50 bill. That $50 bill was not included in the money bag, and this raised some sort of alarm for Mr. Stevens. He was a bit suspicious that maybe funds had been mishandled. Problem identification and analysis. What do I know? George Washington Middle School has a student population of 450. Mr. Stevens is the current principal. He has been at the school for 4 years. He has a pretty good relationship with the teachers, the students, and the parents. Parental involvement at the school is high. Parents participate. They are involved in after-school activities. There is no assistant principal at the school, so Mr. Stevens relies heavily on parent volunteers to help him during athletic events. Ms. Bowman is one of the parent volunteers. She's had 3 of her children attend George Washington Middle. Her youngest daughter is still a student there. She is a cheerleader. Mrs. Bowman had previously met with Mr. Stevens to ask him to have the PTA fund her daughter's trip to New York. She was participating in some cheerleading tryouts. Mr. Stevens had denied that request. What do I want to know? I would want to know, other than Ms. Bowman, which other parent was responsible for collecting and monitoring funds that night. I would also want to know what current procedures were in place for reporting and accounting for damaged tickets. I'd want to know what Mrs. Bowman did with those tickets. I would also want to know if she collected funds for those tickets. And if she collected funds, why wasn't that reflected in the total proceeds? I would also want to know who does the reconciliation of ticket sales at the end of events. And I'd want to know how funds were secured during events such as the one that evening. The problem. It appears that there is a discrepancy in the total ticket sales and the amount that should have been collected. Additionally, there is a $50 bill that is seemingly missing from the money bag. My proposed plan of action, what I would do. I would first review the ticket accounting sheet again and recount funds before meeting with Mrs. Bowman and the other parent. If there was still monies that were unaccounted for, then I would request a meeting with Ms. Bowman and the other parent volunteer who was responsible for collecting funds that evening. I would just explain to them that there was a discrepancy, and I would want to hear from them what they think happened that night. I would also want to determine what happened with the torn tickets. I would also take this time to review the procedures for collecting funds, for securing funds, and what we should do with damaged and torn tickets in the future. I would also meet with all parent volunteers, including the PTA and Booster Club members, to review the procedures again. Category 3, resolving issues based on promoting the success of all students. I would seek to resolve this problem by first meeting with Ms. Bowman and the other parent volunteer who was responsible for handling funds that evening. I would try to review what happened that night and discuss what went wrong, and I would try and do this in a non-accusatory manner. I would meet with parent volunteers and review the policies and procedures again of handling money and what should be done with torn or damaged tickets. I would try to sustain a positive relationship with them. Additionally, I would try to recruit teachers to begin to volunteer at after-school events so that they can assist with providing oversight. If at all possible, I would look into having computerized tickets. Debriefing the problem, what I was thinking and feeling and valuing at the time. Immediately, I thought, like Mr. Stevens, that Mrs. Bowman had taken funds to help fund her daughter's trip to New York. I was also thinking that Mr. Stevens relied too heavily on parent volunteers and needed more support from his teachers or staff. After I had time to process the case, however, I began to think that maybe Mr. Stevens, jumped to conclusions too quickly, and that maybe there was a simple explanation of what happened with the missing funds, or maybe there wasn't even a missing fund. Maybe Mrs. Bowman didn't collect funds for those torn tickets, and maybe that $50 bill that Mr. Bowman paid for with his tickets, maybe that was used to make change. Or maybe Mr. Dumas didn't use that $50 bill. We're not sure of that. I was valuing at the time having safeguards in place to help avoid situations like this, and also providing more oversight at school events. Debriefing the problem. My unresolved issues. I wanted to know why there were no teachers or staff assisting at events such as this, and why Mrs. Stevens immediately thought that something suspicious had happened to the $50 bill. If the $50 bill were in the money bag, would he have even noticed a discrepancy? Why were the funds not counted in front of Mrs. Bowman and the other parent volunteer? I think that's a procedure that should be looked into. I would also want to know what the current policies and procedures for handling damaged tickets were and for monitoring funds during an event such as this. And I'd also want to know who's responsible for reconciling funds at events or after events. Category 5, Standard Component 1, promoting effective and efficient management of the school. I would promote effective and efficient management of the school by first not using PTA funds to help fund one student's trip. PTA funds should be used to help the majority of students, not just one student. Also, I would be promoting the effective and efficient management of the school by reviewing the policies and procedures with parent volunteers, and I would be promoting the effective and efficient management of the school by recruiting teachers and staff to help with after-school activities. This would provide some additional safeguards and oversight doing activities such as the basketball game or basketball games or sporting events. Category 5, Standard Component 2. How would I be promoting the social learning of every student? I would do this by ensuring that PTA funds are used to benefit all or the majority of students. By maintaining a positive relationship with the PTA and Booster Club members, so that we could continue to have their participation in school events like the reading program that was mentioned. I would also ensure that procedures are followed and monitored during school events. I would do this by providing oversight, and hopefully this would help improve the organization at such events so that we can financially benefit from having these social and athletic events. Category 5, Standard Component 3. How would I promoting student academic learning? I would do this by continuing to sustain positive relationships with families at the school. My meeting with Mrs. Bowman and the other parent would be conducted in a way that was positive and not accusatory. We would work towards how we could improve. I would provide greater oversight at school events so that they are financially beneficial. And I would also encourage parents to continue volunteering at the school, and this would help promote student learning. Here are the standards that apply for this case study. I have learned so much from this class. I have enjoyed working with all of you. I wish everyone a wonderful and happy holiday season. Bye-bye.